Hey, this is Joe at The Pour Over.
And this is Bailey at The Pour Over.
Today, we're talking about former National Security Advisor John Bolton pleading not guilty after being indicted, Prince Andrew giving up his royal titles, President Trump urging Russia and Ukraine to end the war, and other top news for Monday, October 20th. Stay informed while remaining focused on Christ with The Pour Over.
Here's your quote of the day. What worries you, masters you. John Locke. Let's get started with some espresso shots.
John Bolton, Trump aide turned critic, pleaded not guilty in federal court Friday to 18 counts of mishandling classified information. Bolton, who served as National Security Advisor from April 2018 to September 2019 during Trump 1.0, is accused of using a personal email and messaging apps to send diary-style entries to relatives and holding on to top-secret documents at his Maryland residence. Bolton denies all wrongdoing and says the indictment is an example of President Trump, quote, weaponizing the Justice Department against his perceived political opponents. Bolton was released without bail and is expected back in court next month. Meanwhile, President Trump commuted the sentence of former New York Representative George Santos, who pleaded guilty to fraud and identity theft last year. Santos had served less than 3 months of a more than 7-year sentence. Christians should always root for justice and fairness, whether it's a politician or a random person on trial. Our job is to try to please Jesus, who will judge everyone fairly and win in the end. 2 Corinthians 5, verses 9 through 11 says, "Therefore, whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to be pleasing to Him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each may be repaid for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. Therefore, since we know the fear of the Lord, we try to persuade people. What we are is plain to God, and I hope it is also plain to your consciences."
Prince Andrew is bowing out of his royal titles. On Friday, King Charles's younger brother announced he will no longer go by Duke of York, saying renewed accusations about his ties to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, quote, distract from the work of the royal family. Andrew, who, quote, vigorously denies allegations, said he made the decision with His Majesty's agreement, and that he must, quote, put my duty to my family and country first. Meanwhile, the U.S. House Oversight Committee released new Epstein files, including flight manifests and a transcript of its 2019 interview with former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, who negotiated Epstein's controversial 2008 plea deal. Representatives Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna are still pushing for a full release of the DOJ's files on Epstein. They need one more signature, which Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva has promised after she's sworn in. Confused about what an Epstein file is? Check out our bonus episode from last month, if you haven't already, of course, called TPO Explains Epstein Files, and take a shallow dive with us. When discussing divisive topics, such as the allegations against Prince Andrew, remember that both your stance and how you take your stance reflect on Christ. James 3:17 says, "But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peace-loving, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, unwavering, without pretense."
President Trump is shifting his peace negotiating energy to Ukraine. Friday, POTUS held another Oval Office meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky as part of a renewed effort to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Zelensky has been pushing Uncle Sam to supply Ukraine's military with long-range Tomahawk missiles, a request Trump said the U.S. and Ukraine would, quote, have to work on, and is, quote, not easy to fulfill. After the meeting, Trump urged Ukraine and Russia to, quote, stop where they are and end their 3-year-long war. Zelensky agreed. Now, Trump is planning to meet with Russian President Putin in Budapest within the next 2 weeks. Meanwhile, in Gaza, the Israel-Hamas ceasefire is facing its first major test. Sunday, Israel announced it had launched airstrikes into Gaza and halted aid, quote, until further notice, after it claimed terrorists fired at IDF troops. Here's a verse to consider when earthly peace feels fragile or far off. He will settle disputes among many peoples and provide arbitration for strong nations that are far away. They will beat their swords into plows and their spears into pruning knives. Nation will not take up the sword against nation, and they will never again train for war. Micah 4, verse 3.
Hey, it's Emily from The Pour Over. There are few things I enjoy more than getting a good deal. Okay, more than a few, but it's pretty high up there. But as much as I love a coupon, I don't love digging through my purse or my email to find them. That's why I use Upside. Upside gets you an average of 8% cash back at grocery stores, restaurants, and gas stations near you. And it couldn't be easier. Just download the app, claim an offer, shop as usual, and earn. Cash out directly to your bank or PayPal, or even a gift card to get a basically free latte. Download the free Upside app and use promo code TPO to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas using promo code TPO.
In other brews, here's a rapid round of updates. Several state political groups are in damage control mode. New York Republicans suspended their Young Republicans chapter after, quote, vile group chat messages, which included crude and racist language, were leaked. A Vermont state lawmaker resigned after his involvement in the chat surfaced. Meanwhile, in Maine, Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner is facing backlash for old online posts urging political violence.
The Trump RX medicine cabinet will include IVF medication. The White House says a new deal with German pharmaceutical giant Merck will slash costs of certain IVF medication by up to 84% and should save American families $2,200 per cycle of IVF. It'll be available through Trump RX, which is set to launch in early 2026.
Nearly 7 million people gathered across the United States Saturday for No Kings protests to denounce President Trump's alleged authoritarianism. Critics called the protests, which were also held in June, quote, Hate America rallies. In response, President Trump shared an AI-generated video of himself wearing a crown, flying a fighter jet that dumped brown liquid on protesters.
The LA Dodgers are World Series bound again after sweeping the Milwaukee Brewers 4-0 in the NLCS. Superstar Shohei Ohtani put on a two-way show in Game 4 with 10 strikeouts, no runs allowed, and 3 homers in MLB first. Meanwhile, the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners are taking their ALCS to Game 7 after the Jays tied the series yesterday.
A 4-minute mid-morning jewel heist left Paris's Louvre Museum evacuated and short a few crown jewels. Masked, chainsaw-wielding thieves on mopeds broke into the Apollo Gallery and stole 9, quote, priceless artifacts. We promise this is real and not some new Ocean's movie. Police say the thieves used a mechanical ladder to smash an upper-floor window for entry. A crown once worn by Napoleon III's wife was later found, though damaged, nearby.
That's all we have for today. Thanks so much for listening, TPO fam. If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow and hit the notification bell to never miss a new episode. We're grateful for your support and hope you have a great day. Catch you on Wednesday. If you like to think about complex issues, if loving your neighbor makes you smile, if you like to be challenged in your faith in a way that's not condemning, have we got a podcast for you. Check out Holy Post from VeggieTales creator Phil Vischer, a theologically orthodox, pro-neighbor, entertaining podcast about what's going on in our world and how to see issues and the people affected by them, as Jesus does. Follow Holy Post wherever you listen to podcasts.